You're listening to the Overly Confident Podcast with your host, Derek Hyde and Garrett Lay.
Hello and welcome back to the Overly Confident Podcast, the only podcast where two guys who aren't professionals are confident enough to go unfiltered while the world listens. This is our new show, and as we're getting used to this new show, we're getting used to new things all around us in life as we go through the new changes in school. For those of you who don't know, I am a student at Penn State, Garrett at Pitt, and we have been going through some online classes which have been, I'd say, interesting to say the very least.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying them whatsoever, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. I don't think they're a good way to learn. But, you know what, that's my take. Also, I think it's very shady that Zoom communication technology stock has gone up by like $100 in the last month. So did they start coronavirus? I'm not going to say that they did, but they are second on my list in terms of who did it.
Second? Hold up. Before we get to that, who's first?
The NFL.
Why would the NFL be first?
Because they shut down the XFL.
I don't know how much a direct competition there was between the two of them.
Oh, dude, you never know.
They don't even play at the same time.
I have another name involved who I think did it, but I don't want to get political.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about Zoom for the time being, at least, because I think online classes are also insane and they're weird, and there's a lot of craziness happening beyond those things. But, I mean, the only people who are happy by the virus, at least, would probably be the Zoom company, because they're blowing up.
Yeah, I mean, I had never heard of them before this. I know people who had to take online classes before probably used it at some point. Like if they signed up for online classes during the regular school year and not whatever the heck's going on right now. But, I had never heard of it until this. I didn't even know that we were going to use it until Pitt sent an email like the day before classes started and was like, hey, you're going to be using Zoom. And I didn't even log in with my school account when I first made it because I didn't know if we got one. But in all honesty, the actual platform is not that bad. Like Zoom itself really is not a terrible interface. I will give them that.
Yeah, because I mean we've used it to talk to our friends as well. Now that it's something we have paid access to because of our schools.
Yeah, I use it a ton. Just like kind of as Skype now. That's what I originally thought we were going to use was Skype, but
yeah, it's actually not that bad though. Honestly, I mean, I've never heard of it before. I remember when Penn State told us about it, I thought it was like a Penn State thing that they made, until one of our other friends who goes to a much smaller school was like, wait, I know what that is because we've had to use that before. And sure enough, now half the world is doing everything from businesses to NHL press conferences to university classes on there, and it's just kind of a crazy time to be alive.
Yeah, and it's fun to get creative with the virtual backgrounds, too. You know, we've seen if you follow, like, Barstool's Instagram or anything like that, they have all kinds of college kids being crazy with it. I was going to dress up as a raccoon and make my background a dumpster, but my raccoon suit that I own is itchy, so I didn't want to wear it.
Wait, I thought
think my
you
dad
did
wore it
that.
in the woods. No, I didn't actually do it, because it was itchy. It had, like, thorns in it or something. It was the worst, so I had to take it off.
Why would it have thorns in
it? Also, nobody in my class had their camera on, so it would have literally just been me with my camera on, dressed as a raccoon, and the professor with her camera on, and that really would have been pretty weird. That's another thing. At least so far, no one who is in the class has ever, like, responds. Normally, everyone's just silent, because I know, like, I've seen videos, like, where everyone's camera's on and stuff, and they're like straight up disrespecting the teacher and whatever because nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, that has not happened yet. I mean, I only have really one Zoom class, but everyone's silent the whole time. No one turns on their camera. The professor just talks for an hour and then we all leave.
No, I feel that because most of the time in my classes, no one really turns on the cameras or mics either. And it's just kind of a lecture or no one speaks, and there's absolutely zero class participation because no one wants to speak.
Yeah, seriously.
And
Um,
there's so much less incentive to speak in those classes too, because like even if you do, half the time they don't realize that it's one of the 137 people watching that is
oh yeah, and
speaking.
half all of my classes, they've just decided participation grades already. They were just like, all right, your participation grade is going to be based on the first half of the year, and so it literally does not matter if you say anything in class. So
Huh.
I'm now less motivated to ask questions and pay attention.
I feel like
So that's a great combination.
that's you and everybody else who's feeling that way.
Yeah, I have no idea how anyone. I mean, I'm sure some people find it okay, and this might even be the best way that they learn.
Mhm.
But I know, at least what I've seen and based on people I've talked to, this is not how most people want to learn or whatever. Though I will say, my one Zoom class, the professor is changing it up a little bit so that she records the lectures beforehand, before the normal class time. You watch the lecture, and then normal class time is for practice problems and asking questions and stuff like that, which I do like a little better because sitting there through the whole lecture is pretty pointless.
I've also experienced some things like that where my teachers have kind of turned our Zoom into office hours, and then everything else just kind of is on our Canvas, which is our online page. But other than that, I mean, I haven't really seen too many people getting creative with it.
No, and plus, not only is it tougher to talk to the teacher and ask questions and pay attention in class, but it's tougher to talk to your classmates and TAs and stuff, like to get help in a class that's tough.
Yeah.
Like this game theory class I take is impossible. Everybody thinks it's impossible. As a matter of fact, one of the best things about it is it's the first class I've taken where everyone's like okay saying that they have no idea what's going on because nobody knows what's going on. And like for the first exam, I met with some of the kids in my class and we sat in the library for probably a total of 12 to 15 hours trying to figure stuff out, basically teaching ourselves the class. And at the end of it, did we do well on the test? Not really. We still got like our average, the class average was like a 50 out of 100. So imagine what having to communicate online is doing for our understanding. We have none.
Yeah, well, in a lot of my classes, we have group projects that are kind of not going too well. Luckily for me, and like the group projects I had already exchanged phone numbers with those people that I had in my group, but other people are now trying to dig for information on who they're with and trying to contact these people, and it's just becoming a real pain because the teachers are still keeping the group project aspect, but they're just kind of like, we're figuring out how to do this as we go with how we're actually going to present this.
Yeah, I was supposed to have a group research project in my rhetorical processes class, and he's basically nixed the group part of it. So, which is kind of annoying because now it's twice as long because you're writing it as an individual, and he still wants as much information as you would have with a group. But
Yeah.
also, it's so tough because not everyone lives on the East Coast in our time zone. So to get everybody together and talk and everything like that is really, really hard. And at least the professor there, he understood that. So he was like, we're just going to make it individual. It's going to be a little tougher now because it's just you. It's going to be a lot more work. But at least you don't have to worry about like figuring out when your group can talk if somebody lives on the West Coast or something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the whole time zone thing because one of my good friends is from the Bay Area and he has live Zoom sessions based on Eastern Standard Time at 9 in the morning. So he's up at 5 going to class and he's like,
I wouldn't. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't. I'd say no. I'd be like, no. That's it. Not going.
yeah, he
Not going at all.
he thinks it's insane. And think about if you had an 8 a.m. and you'd have to wake up even earlier. That's just ridiculous.
And yeah, and also, if I'm being honest, I feel like college students are being a little gypped in terms of like not getting some tuition reimbursement.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're still getting classes, but it's not the same.
No.
It's really not. Not spending time in the classroom, not being able to meet with the professor face to face in person, not being able to collaborate with your peers face to face in person. Everything like that really changes. Like that's one of the best things about college, and that's why classes can be difficult. And that's why big problems are solved on university campuses. It's because it's a great place for collaboration to occur, and now that's really being taken away from us. So I don't know, I wouldn't say that I think that college students like should get full tuition reimbursement. I think that'd be a little ridiculous, but I definitely wouldn't mind seeing some money back particularly for kids who like have applied for large financial aid packages and things like that, because this is a time more than ever when they need that extra money. And since their education isn't the same, it's not what they were paying for, right? Most kids choose to pay extra for online classes because it's so different from the traditional university setting. So now you're put in an uncomfortable situation in a way that you might not learn as well as you could have. But I will give the university some credit in a lot of them are changing to the pass-fail option because of these online classes. I know Pitt did it, Penn State did it too, CMU did it. And basically, if you don't know what's going on there, what they're allowing students to do now is go through the whole rest of the year, and then when you see your grade at the end of the semester, you can choose to make it pass-fail, which means it won't affect your GPA. So let's say you got a C in a class. Maybe you had a B or an A in it before this online learning started, and you tried to keep up, and you just couldn't, and you ended up with a C at the end of the year. You can choose to make it pass. You could choose to make it say on your transcript that you passed the class. So instead of it hurting your GPA, you still get all the credit for it, but you got a C, so you just get a pass.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State's even going as far as in some classes a D is a passing grade now.
Yeah.
Or they count it as different than the pass option for A through C, but it's still a weird thing to do if you want your kids to still care, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is true. It does make me even less likely to care. Now, kids who are going to medical school or really plan on going to graduate school, law school, stuff like that, they're still going to care. And I know I still care because I really have no idea what I'm going to do after undergraduate. But because the graduate school might ask to see what that grade was, because even though your transcript will say pass fail, they'll still have records of what the actual grade that you got was. Or you might not have the option to choose pass fail. I would highly recommend, if you're a student listening to this, to talk to your advisor about any graduate schools you're thinking of or medical schools and see if they accept pass fail for certain classes, whether it's major classes or if it's pre-med, like the pre-med requirement classes, because that could really get you in trouble in the long run. So I highly recommend checking that out and finding that out from your advisor, if you can even contact them, because that's also really hard. Like, I just had to schedule classes, and I didn't really have time to ask my advisor anything because I didn't have time to wait for her to get back to me in an email.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up, because I think I have to do that too, because I schedule in, I believe, 11 days now, so that won't be too fun without actually getting to meet in person with an advisor. Thankfully, Penn State kind of makes it kind of easy, where you can just look up what you need, and I'll probably just do it myself, but advisor meetings are kind of interesting right now too.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that I didn't have time for is, I know I told you about this, but so basically every college in the United States, kids have had to move out of the dorms now. And I was given less than about 24-hour notice that I was going to have to leave my dorm. And luckily I live really close to Pitt, like 30 minutes away. So it wasn't a huge deal, but basically so I got an email. We were on spring break. It was like the Thursday of spring break or whatever. We're supposed to go back the following Monday. And I got an email that was like, hey, we're going to start moving kids out of their dorm rooms now because this is getting pretty bad. And I was like, okay, whatever. And they're like, go and check your housing portal to see when your move-out date is. I was like, oh, it'll probably be next week because they've already kind of extended spring break a little while. So it'll be sometime next week. And I look at it, and it says it's, what was that, the 24th or something of March, whatever it was. But it was literally the next day. And I go to my parents, I'm like, hey, so we got to get the car ready, and we have to go down tomorrow and move me out of school, and that means I'm not coming back. And I think Pitt was one of the first ones that like officially said that like we aren't coming back, because I know Penn State like hadn't for a while. Like,
Penn State really beat around the bush on that one.
Yeah, there was still a chance you were going back, but I know Pitt and CMU basically made all the decisions at the same time because they literally are a block away from each other.
Do you
they
think,
were
though,
in communication with that.
Because all of the best hospitals in Pittsburgh are on Pitt's campus?
Yeah, probably. That probably had something huge to do with it. I mean, they literally had coronavirus there for a while because they were doing research on it and things like that. But yeah, I think because of that, and then also there's been like rumors and stuff that if hospitals get overrun, they will have to move patients into college dormitories and stuff. So because we're so close to a hospital, like my dorm is just, a block away from UPMC Presbyterian. There's so many dormitories within a 5-minute walk from the hospital. So if that's going to happen anywhere, like that would be Pitt would be the perfect campus to do that on, where you start putting patients in college dorms and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was another reason. Like the city of Pittsburgh talked to them, they talked to the CDC and everything, and they're like, hey, you got to start getting kids out just in case we start running out of resources in hospitals and we can start moving patients into dorm rooms. So I'm glad that it happened now. I mean, of course, it was really weird having like my college semester end that way, and that's why it really sucks for seniors and things like that they just all of a sudden had to move out, and no one knows how graduation is going to be handled or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, with Penn State, I think Pitt really just didn't want a Walking Dead situation going on in downtown Pittsburgh. But
Yes.
At Penn State, everyone who lives in a dorm, all of their stuff is still there. Because whenever Penn State gave the kids like 4 days to grab their stuff, they were very clear that you were not moving out and that Penn State students were coming back. And then 3 days later, they were like, nah, we're done for the semester.
No, that's kind of the worst,
So
though.
now everyone's stuff is still up there, and they don't know how or when they're going to be able to get it because they're locked out of all the buildings.
Yeah, because you can't get back into any... I know on Pitt's campus, you can't get back into any dorms anymore. They're all shut down. So if you left anything, it's stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing goes for, like, my sister's in high school. And, I mean, she doesn't have a ton of stuff in her locker or whatever. But, like, kids, like, their lockers are still full of stuff. And I know I left, like, food in my locker for, like, weeks. And imagine what some of those lockers are going to smell like.
Oh, yeah.
After a month of not being in school. Unless if they, because you can't just open a locker, I don't think. Unless if they're doing that.
Maybe.
Which maybe wouldn't be a bad idea, at least to look for trash and things like that, because that could get really bad. You could walk into the school and it would smell just like a dumpster.
That brings up a good point, though, because I remember watching on TikTok, like right before all this happened, there was some kid at a high school, and he was like literally adding an apple inside of an empty locker every day.
Yeah, dude, that would be the worst. It would be like composting inside.
Yeah, and the last post was like, my school's shutting down for a while. Hopefully my apples are here when I get back.
Dude, they're gonna be so gross. It's gonna be liquid. There's gonna be like liquid spilling out of like the little vents in the top of the locker. They're gonna open it up and it's just gonna be fruit flies that fall out. That's going to be disgusting, beyond belief.
I don't know the guy's name, or else I'd give him a shout-out, but I just think that's so funny, and I feel bad for whoever works at that school.
Yeah, I left a turkey sandwich in a laptop bag for a year, and you would not believe the smell that came out of that. So, like, dude, like, I don't know, some kids drink milk all the time. Imagine if they just left, like, a quart of milk in their locker or something like that. Do you know how bad that's going to smell?
Oh.
Any kind of meat whatsoever, fruit's just going to get really mushy, and there's going to be fruit flies everywhere.
Oh, that's just terrible.
They're going to have to tear down schools. They're going to have to bulldoze them. They're like, we'll just have to start over.
I remember the smell of your laptop bag.
Yeah, it was the worst thing I'd ever smelled my entire life.
What was it? You were taking it on a trip, forgot it was in there, and because we never used those bags at our high school, it just sat there?
Yes, I never opened the bag again. I thought I was going to eat it for lunch at a speech and debate tournament when I did that, and then I never ate it, and it just sat there for a year. And I can still remember the smell now. I dream about it sometimes. And so they're going to have to bulldoze schools and rebuild them. There's just no chance. I don't see another option.
Yeah, so thoughts are out to the high school where somewhere in the United States, there's a high school with a locker full of about 20 apples in it. Well, no one is in there.
And it's going to be foul.
My heart goes out to those janitors, and I wish them the absolute best.
Oh, for sure.
But I mean,
well, yeah.
Those kids at the dorm
really messing
have
up
food
education
too, probably.
Oh yeah, I think I did a pretty good job of cleaning my stuff out, but I was the first one out because I lived so close, so I have no idea. I didn't ask my roommates about what they threw out and stuff. I know for a fact. So the freezers on our mini fridges didn't really work at all. So we put ice cream up there, and they were like ice cream sandwiches, and they all melted and then kind of refroze. So the entire top of one of the refrigerators is full of half melted ice cream sandwiches that have been sitting in there for at least 9 months. So I have no idea what's going to happen to those. Who's going to clean out the refrigerators? Because it's not us anymore.
No.
They're probably going to have to throw those out,
Some
too.
poor coronavirus patient is going to get your old dorm, look in the freezer, and just see a bunch of sad melted ice cream.
They're going to be... It's really sad. It's super sad.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for me, I live off campus at Penn State, and we renewed our lease. So we keep our apartment another year, so all of our stuff is fine up there. And we can still go up there as far as I know. But
Yeah, there's no... I couldn't see a reason why you wouldn't be allowed. Unless if, like, the people who own the apartment complex you live in say no one can come back. But that would be insane because people have to live there.
exactly.
So.
They're being like kind of really locked down about it though, where they want emails from everyone who's staying there throughout all of this. And I mean, they obviously don't want a lot of people coming back from places like New York and Philadelphia and Pittsburgh where there's been a lot of cases. So
Yeah, they got to keep track of who's coming in and who's coming out because you never know who's tracking it down. I know, like, there was a confirmed case at Pitt, and then they had to ask the kid who was confirmed, like, all of the people he'd interacted with for the past 2 weeks, and then they had to send out emails to all of those people and be like, hey, you might have it.
and then those people would then have to do the same sort of situation with themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just crazy to think about.
Yeah, that's why the social distancing thing is so important. If you look at like graphs and stuff, you see like where they cut off one part of the tree because one person stayed home or whatever, and it takes away like 100 people who they might have had contact with because of how that works. Which is why it's so important. So stay home. I've basically stayed home every day. I haven't left much. I went into an office to work one day, but it was just me and my boss there, and it's been only him all week because no one else can come in or whatever. So
Yeah, I mean, I've practically been self-isolating the entire time. House arrest since I came back from spring break because I actually traveled out of the state for that, and that was a crazy experience to just be lounging on the beach while my phone blows up that everything is being canceled in front of my eyes.
yeah, that was before it got super bad. Hey, dude, the interview with those kids who were in Florida who were like, if I get sick, I get sick. It's whatever. I've been planning this spring break was the worst video I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
It really gave us college students a terrible rep, which sometimes we deserve, but this was just the worst.
No, it really did, because didn't the governor of Miami was even super PO'd about all of that stuff. He was like, please get out of here. We don't want you.
Yeah. Well, and then the problem is they all come home.
Yeah.
All the kids who were down there come home, and they bring it back to wherever they're from.
All it takes is one case at one of those things, and then everything erupts.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the thing. Like, places like the University of Dayton and Kent and stuff, were like having like full out riots or something whenever their class went
Oh yeah,
online.
when Dayton like announced that they were shutting down in-person classes, everybody just gathered in the streets and like had a party.
That's so dumb.
Which the whole point, it was like what's the response to shutting down classes to avoid large gatherings? It was like have the biggest gathering ever.
Yeah.
Was the plan.
Like,
and then I think WVU, our one friend who goes to WVU, said that they had something. They had to, like, the cops came and tear gassed it.
well, that's just because
So-
WVU is a mess. That's the same university
That's true.
had cops shoot rubber bullets at people on a street to break a party up.
Yes.
It's Morgantown is an insane place.
Yeah. So I would not want to be there during this. I mean, West Virginia was like one of the last states to test positive for a case, but I'm pretty sure every state in the U.S. has officially, even Alaska, which I thought Alaska was going to last. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I thought Alaska was going to make it out.
A lot of that
So,
has
did
to
you
do
see-
with like how many test kits there actually are, though. Because, like, are you really giving them to West Virginia? Sorry if anyone's from
and
there.
West Virginia doesn't have the... No, it's true. They don't have the resources to test as many people as a place like New York or Los Angeles or something. And I think that's also important to know, like, as the number of cases in the U.S. goes up, that's because we have now moved into distributing the most tests. Now, I understand a lot of people are like, oh, it's still not good enough because per capita, it's still not as many tests as, like, South Korea did or is doing or whatever. But as you test more, because this virus spreads so much and so many people have cases where they have no symptoms, the more you test, the more cases you're going to find, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I feel like definitely people could or should do a better job of the social distancing and everything, and I still think people aren't taking it seriously enough. Like, if everybody literally stayed inside for 2 weeks, I'm sure this would all blow over pretty quick.
Yeah.
But still, it's not like it's that much worse in the U.S. than it is anywhere else. It's just we're giving out so many tests that you're bound to get more positive results, particularly with the way this spreads and everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. Self-quarantining is absolutely becoming the social norm right now, and hopefully we get rid of it sooner rather than later.
Indeed. This is all, at least we're living in a time in history. Like, people will read about this. That's kind of cool, I guess, as sad as it is. It's kind of cool.
Some of my
we'll be like,
some of my favorite things that I've been seeing on the internet is people saying stuff like that, and they're like, we're living in a moment of history right now, and isn't that really cool? And then they post a picture of like a business that's like, yes, we are really closed right now. No, you cannot stay here. Please go away. And someone's like, and this is going to be figure 20 in your history textbook in 20 years.
Yeah, I think I appreciate companies, all companies, like providing some input on coronavirus. But the other day I saw a commercial from Burger King where they're like saying how much they like want to take care of you as this occurs, and they're like, oh, we're offering free delivery and everything like that. I'm like, I don't need Burger King to tell me that they're going to take care of me during the coronavirus. No offense to Burger King, right? Burger King can be great. You guys live near one at Penn State. That's where you get like all your food.
That is not true. That is not where I get all my food.
Okay. Your roommate Aaron gets all his food there. But, yeah, I'm not hating on Burger King. I'm just saying it's very strange when I see a really serious Burger King ad where they're like, hey, stay safe, stay at home, we're going to take care of you. I'm like, I don't need Burger King to take care of me, bro.
I don't think a fast food restaurant is the place you're looking towards for care.
No, they aren't like, Burger King providing me free delivery, not going to help my mental health whatsoever. Just because I can't get a Whopper at home for free delivery, dude. That's not making, no, I do appreciate the effort though. But sometimes I just think it's funny, like some of the companies that do it or whatever.
Yeah.
You would never think to see them do all this.
Some of them are just getting desperate because sales are falling so much, and then other people like Netflix and Zoom and Amazon are going up, up, and up because of this.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's clear winners.
I do appreciate the companies that are doing things like, I know Ford's doing it, like making ventilators out of parts that they would normally use to build cars. I think that's really cool. I know Elon Musk volunteered to make some ventilators, and the mayor of Governor Cuomo tweeted back at him, and he was like, hey, New York would buy if you made them. So I think that's really cool. I think it offers a glimpse at like what people can do when we all have a common kind of, I guess you could call the virus an enemy.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we treat it as such, you know, that it is a common enemy. Like, our goal should be to get rid of it. Sometimes, at least to me, it feels like some people are not happy that it's happening, but like, there was like one article from the BBC, and someone I follow on Twitter commented on it. It was like Africa only has like 9 cases, and it's like a continent of 1 billion people.
There's not tests there.
Like and they're like, but there's still a chance for it to spread. And the way the article was worded sounded like it was like there was hope that the virus would still spread.
That's awful.
So just the way it was just worded poorly and everything. And so I think sometimes people come off as like, or like sometimes people who like to, you know, rat on the U.S. healthcare system, which of course isn't great. Obviously, it's actually pretty terrible how we have it set up right now. But it seems like people are, at least based on the tone that some people take when they talk about it, sounds like they're excited everything's going so poorly and like things aren't getting better because they have a reason like to hate on the current system and things like that. When I think what we should be worried about is why things are going so poorly and working together to fix them instead of like saying like, oh, haha, look, it is really sucky here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That kind of thing.
The way things are going on like that. But I know everyone's really trying to do their part that they can. I know my grandmother is like, she lives in like a big apartment complex with a bunch of people her age, and she's in a like knitting club or whatever, and they are knitting masks for hospitals. Just
yeah, dude. I think that's awesome. And I think we need more of that. Less of the partisan stuff, more knit masks for people, dude, if you can.
Yeah, it's a lot of time is going into those sort of things, and I just think they're funny stories, but in the end, they could be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's trying to help out, and it gives you good perspective on what's important, too. You know, like, I see more people than ever, like, on walks with their families outside, you know, socially distant from other groups of families. But, you know, you get to spend a lot of time with your family. Like, literally, if you go out and drive, I've seen so many people outside walking. Now, it hasn't been super nice every day here in Pittsburgh. It rains all the time. But today is super nice. It's like 70 or something and sunny right now. It's a little windy. You might hear it in the recording sometimes, but, you know.
Yeah, it's been pretty enjoyable here for the most part. But other than the rain showers here and there, I think it's supposed to get colder for us as the week goes by. But
yeah, hey, that doesn't help either. Figure out what temperature you want to be.
I hate the spring, man.
I don't like when it goes from like 65 to 35 in a day.
We just call those normal
makes me
days
feel
in
whack.
State College.
Yeah, it makes me feel so whack.
Yeah, Pennsylvania weather.
Somebody's cutting their grass outside right now. I should do that.
Pennsylvania weather
should cut my grass.
is absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
All right, well, I think we should call it there. We get a little bit serious at some times, but kept it light, talking about TikToks and our own personal stories.
Hey, man, I love getting a little serious sometimes, you know? You know me, Garrett Serious Lay. That's my last name.
Yeah, no one calls you that, ever.
I call myself that. Dude, that's my favorite joke. When you say somebody's all about something and you make it their middle name. Like Derek Broadcast Journalism Hyde. Like, imagine if we called you that.
That would be absolutely ridiculous.
It'd be awesome. I think everyone should have a middle name that isn't a name, but is like something they enjoy.
So when Garrett has a kid, stay tuned for the most ridiculous middle name in the history of middle names.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be... Well, it'll have to... I'll basically predetermine what he'll enjoy. It'll be like... And I wouldn't name my kid Andrew. No offense to any Andrews out there. That's what I wouldn't name him Andrew. I used to think I would name my kid Xavier, but the more I say it, it feels stupid now. No, once again, no. See, now I'm just offending anyone who has these names and is listening.
Yes, you are.
Let's say, Steve.
Okay.
We'll just go super generic. It'll be like Steve Paddleboard Yoga Lay or something, and he'll have no choice but to get really into stand-up paddleboard yoga or something.
Or he's
like
gonna
that,
hate you for trying to determine this.
Probably, he'll probably hate me, but it's fine. Or he'll be the best paddleboard yoga-y who's ever lived, and it'll be all thanks to me and the fact that I think that when people make their middle name something that they're passionate about. Is hilarious.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's episode of the Overly Confident Podcast. Feel free to give us a like, share, and comment on the podcast, and check us out on
Rate it, too. Rate it on iTunes.
Platforms.
Rate it on iTunes. Leave a review. 5 stars preferably, but if you didn't like it, give us 1 star. Just be honest. We're all about honesty here. That's the whole point, right?
Absolutely.
So be honest. Be as honest as you want. Be brutally honest. We can fix everything. If you want to change both hosts, we can do that. No, we can't. We won't do that. That's a lie.
We're not going that far, but we'll see ya.
No.
Thank you for listening to the Overly Confident Podcast. Please leave a rating to let us know how much you enjoy the show. For the most up-to-date news on the podcast, please check out the GD Podcast Twitter account, and feel free to check us out on all other platforms.